shorter, they tell me I'd order go sit in the shade, but they're wrong. Though I'm glued together in all kinds of weather, I'll still be singing my song. Oh, girl, it keeps this old pendulum swinging. Oh, girl, it keeps this old cowgirl singing. Though troubles are stinging, life keeps on slinging and flinging its struggles and strife. Though I'm put together in all kinds of weather, I'll still be singing my song. Linda knows everything. Just find Linda and she'll tell you what's going on. Sure, why don't you introduce me?
Yeah, well, I don't know if she needs any introduction. And she's got a lot of different names. Doc, Dottie, D. Strickland Johnson even. But the best known by many of us, most of us, is Buckshot Dot. She is a native Arizonan who grew up in the Wallapai Reservation and the Petrified Forest. And when, with her husband, Old Buck, operated a cattle ranch in the Ozark Mountains throughout the 1970s. Dot's an Arizona culture keeper. She's been awarded the Academy of Western Artists Female Cowboy Poet of the Year. One of her books was named Cowboy Poetry Book of the Year. And she has received the Will Rogers Medallion Award. And she has opened for Lyle Lovett. She's written 7 books. 8 books, yeah, that's right. And she'll tell you about the 8th one in a minute.
That was written before the 8th book.
Yeah. 5 dance folk operas, and has produced 4 CDs. And now she can tell you about this book.
Yeah, this book.
You were going to tell them how that worked.
Oh, I'm going to tell you how this works, all right? Thanks, Linda. I'll have to figure out what I'm supposed to do here. First of all, I want to mention Rachel Cohen is here. Her mother was the dance director when we did the 5, I believe, that I did with your mother. Fran was at the Herberger Theater in Dance Theater West. She was a dance director. And she asked me to come and do some plays that I had written. I wrote them for Fran. And Frances has passed away, but her dear daughter, Rachel, is with us. So thank you, Rachel. And thank you, Bill Burkett, for coming from Phoenix also. All right. Now this book is a very strange book because it was written during the COVID, all during the COVID crisis. I was writing silly little poems that I called whimsies because someone called them whimsical poems, trying to cheer people up. I mean, that was a dreadful time, you know that. A lot of you were alone. I have my dear old husband, Old Buck, but a lot of people were completely alone. And so I was trying to cheer people up, and I wrote this little book. Now, the strange thing about this little book is that this is not the real book. My dear friend Chuck Casey over here has fixed it up so that we have something to kind of show you what it's supposed to be like. But the print is very small in this book because the editor did it in Apple. Nobody publishes in Apple anymore. So we didn't have a book to sell, so Chuck rushed over to the print shop and said, "Give me some books." So they did, and they got us these little books with the spiral binding. But if you buy this dandy little book, I paid $200 for 20 of them. So I'm charging 10. But if you buy this little book, I will send you the other book for only $5 because it will be properly bound. But thank you, Chuck Casey, very much for that. Appreciate it. Yes. Yes, well, it was advertised in the paper a couple of times that I would do Western things, as I usually do following Marshall Trimble. But unfortunately, he did one of my best stories for his last one. But anyway, I don't know what I was going to say. Forget it. Let's start. All right. Well, I will start with a poem. Well, I guess, are you there? Okay. Now I want to. Well, tell me when I can start, Kenny. Okay.
Right now.
Most of my friends call me Buckshot Doc. My husband is known as Old Buck. And though a shooter, I'm actually not. My name sounds to me like bad luck. It sounds like domestic violence. I tell him, now listen to this. Buckshot Doc. Do you get it? He says, nah, there's nothing amiss. You say you're not a shooter? Well, you're sure a good hunter, that's so. 'Cause I am the buck that Buckshot Doc got, so I reckon that I ought to know. And I would like to take a few minutes to acknowledge, if any of the people are here who are recognized in these poems or in this introduction, please raise your hand. Peter Alshire, you're not Peter Alshire. Anyhow, Peter Alshire for the title of the book, A Glint of Light. That's what it's meant about, to kind of cheer people up. The dawning is coming. And Ken Burrison for the PowerPoint presentation. A lot of work put in. And my dear friends Chuck and Barbara Casey, also known as Trouble in Paradise. And as I told you, Chuck did all the computer graphics and saved something for today. Okay, so here we go. Now then, that is all done. Now then, we can proceed to Kenny. To all the minstrels I have loved, and I want to tell you that this was inspired by a book of Robert James Waller's book, Old Songs in a New Cafe. To all the minstrels I have loved, the singers and the dancers, the storytellers and the actors, the poets, the playwrights, the pipers and the painters, the fiddlers, guitarists and mandolin players, the writers of prose and those of poetry, the juggler and the clown, to all those who have made me laugh or cry, to them I give them a tip of my hat and bow until the finals curtain's down. And I really mean that. And some of those minstrels are actually here, like Bill Burkett and the Caseys and so forth. People who have inspired me. And Ken also. What am I doing here?
You're throwing it around. Where do you go with that?
As I said, this book has taken so long and it's been so frantic that I haven't had a chance to memorize them. So here we go. All right, the Sinister Sisters. 100 years after their forebear's death, his name was the Spanish flu. 3 sinister sisters summarily came. Now when can we bid them adieu? They went by the name of the eldest, 19. Number 20 was ghastly and grim. We're anxiously waiting the great headline, Sinister Sisters Killed by the Knights in White. This pandemic will come to an end if you get your shots. As yesterday's knight in his coat of mail did the dragons of hate allay, so today's bright knights in their coats of white shall lay those bad sisters away. You may notice on the lab coat of the knight in white are the initials MLS. Anybody know what that stands for? Medical Laboratory Scientists. Thank you, scientists. And this is called A Glint of Light because it's about the book. In the quietness of morning, neath the darkness of the sky, shines a tiny speck of brightness. And if you're wondering why, I must tell you it's the dawning of a brighter, happier day, when the deep, depressing darkness shall have vanished quite away, when the last pale star has fallen and a gentle morning sun heralds yesterday's tomorrow, we'll know the new day has begun. A glint of light. And there are some people here who are my earth angels. This was the first of the poems that I wrote during this COVID thing. I have learned since long sequester there is folks as good as gold who come to help the elderly. That's Polites for old. A dear lady buys our groceries. Is Gloria here? She's supposed to be here. Anyway, Gloria bought our groceries. We had never even met. And two who bring us cookies, which we appreciate, you bet. There are friends who call to see if there's anything we need, and a pal who brings us homemade soup and lots of books to read. To show appreciation, I could sit out on the walk and draw those pretty pictures and cheerful words in pastel chalk, and I might take a couple of crackers and some water in a cup and hope some kind soul will come along and help this old girl up. Remember the pastel pictures? A lot of them around the library and the hospital and so forth. You remember them. All right, then this one was taken from an essay by my editor, Fee Shirlene. And so all I did was just wrap it up in rhythm and rhyme, make a poem out of it. So I call it Just Me. She lives alone. And she was one of those people who were sequestered, and it's pretty darn hard being alone. I am my own roommate, my own company. There's nobody home but myself, I, and me. From one room to another I walk and I sigh, and nobody's here but me, myself, and I. I see friends 6 feet off, but I'm sure you'll agree that's better than only I, myself, and me. And to whom in the mirror I see looking in, I'll say, oh, good grief, it's just you again. Oh, what a conundrum this seems to convey. 'Twill be grand when Corona's caboted away. All right, now this one is to my friend Tim's son, Paul, who came down to see us on his Harley. On our 60th birthday, he brought his sweet little wife down from Prescott on his Harley. So I thought, by golly, I got to write a poem for Paul. This dude on a Harley passed me. Hot dang, what a beautiful thing. All burgundy and silver with doodads. All shiny with lots of bling. As he zoomed around my little pickup with a sound like a huge Molotov, in spite of the dirt on the back of his shirt, I could see, if you can read this, my woman's tongue fell off. I see, let's see, 1, 2, 3 masks. And bless you for still wearing them. We appreciate that. And I want to tell you that it's hard to live behind a mask. It's not easy. So this is for you. There are four masks, yes. Okay. It's hard to eat or even drink from bottle, from glass or flask. Perhaps you've tried, pull the mask aside, but I don't dare to ask. From first time back in the store for me and many a week, folks can't hear a thing I say or who it is that speaks. For sounds get blurred, hard to be heard behind these pesky masks. It's good to find that folks are kind most every little while. Frustration, though, comes through, you know, for when I try to smile, nobody knows. I know no one can see my lips spread out in this friendly grin. It seemed to me I ought to walk right out that door I just came in. I'll tell you folks, it's not a joke in case you thought I'd ask. It's just me behind that you can't see behind this pesky mask. But now I've found the sweetest clerk, a wonderful employee. She says, but your eyes are smiling, dear. Above your mask, I see. True story. All right, now this is about my highest compliments. I used to do a lot of cowboy poetry gatherings. And by the way, I don't have these memorized because I was still writing the book when I didn't have time to memorize them. Okay, so my highest compliments. I used to do the cowboy gatherings. And you met some really fine people. And some very talented people. But this is about a couple, and two of the people in this poem are present. And as I told you, if your name is mentioned or in any way, please raise your hand. Or if it's not even mentioned and you know it's you, come on, raise your hand. Now, I've been called a lot of names I wouldn't dare to print, but here I'm going to tell you about my finest compliments. At a gathering of cowboys, I said my piece, and so this wrangler came up to me at the closing of the show, and he said, "Lady, you're kicking the britches." And he gave my hand a shake. Now that was a real high compliment. About that, there's no mistake. Just recently, a real good friend told me that I am quite unique. And the pal who stood right next to her said, "Yeah, I'm a real antique." Now, not many entertainers can boast about such riches. Just stop and think. I'm a unique antique and a firm kick in the britches. Let's do a little song. As I said, this was advertised as Western because it's always been Western before. So I asked my dear friends Chuck and Barbara to join me, and let's do the Buckaroo Waltz. These are songs that I wrote sometimes. Autobiographical, grew up at the petrified forest, used to go to the dances at the schoolhouse and the lodge. Up at the schoolhouse, down at the lodge, we tie our ponies right by that old Dodge that Pat and Juanita drove in from the ranch. Way out on the Milky to play for the dance. With fiddle and guitar, they do it and ride, then swap back and forth for the rest of the night. And I always stuff. So this is called Tomboy, and as you know me, you probably know this is a very autobiographical poem. Oh yeah, I was raised with 7 brothers near a place called Concho Lake. There was Jamie, Jeff, and Joseph, Sam and Seth, and Sid and Jake. So I grew up rough and tumbling on my share of noise. I romped the dogs and roped the chickens. I was rowdy as the boys. Skinny tomboys, 7 brothers, and assorted brothers' friends. On our little cattle ponies, we raced to the bridge and back again. We'd roar down the dry arroyos, then we'd all come tearing back. There was Buzz and Paul and Donnie, and that rascal Charlie Black. What a rascal Charlie Black. Then one spring as I grew older, Mama firmly told me no. When the boys went out on roundup, Mama said I couldn't go. She tried to teach me cooking, how to sew and keep the place, but my heart was chasing yearlings and I longed to rope and race. Once she washed my hair in soap weed while it still hung limp and damp. She put that rusty curling iron down the chimney of the lamp. Sister, she said, holding up this gingham dress that she had sewed, Andy's coming. Now you wear this so your legs don't look so bowed. Well, Andy was the new young foreman of the ranch off to our west. All my brother's cronies, she showed she liked him best. And she was proud that she had made me look like something of a girl. Got me out of faded Levi's and forced my stubborn hairs to curl. Well, it wasn't long thereafter, and every time that Andy called and the boys was pitching horseshoes, well, Andy'd linger in the hall. So he'd come to be my suitor. He brought me candy and flowers and such. The night he gave me perfume, well, I didn't mind too much. Andy came most every evening. He was courteous and kind, and it wasn't any secret what that cowboy had in mind. Every Friday we'd go dancing, laughing clear to town and back. Andy made me feel a lady, so I married Charlie Black. A little story to tell you about that one. My husband, old Bobby, is sitting out there at the table. After one of the shows where I had done that, lady came out and she said, "Oh, Mr. Black, I'm so glad to meet you." All right, now this poem is for 3 ladies that were very kind to us and brought us cookies. Now, I wrote a poem called I Don't Bake, so you most know that I really do appreciate cookies. And so this is for Robin, Lori, and Bobby. And it could be for any of the one of the 3, and there's a separate poem for each one of them in the book. Today I had cookies for breakfast. Tell me now, how can that be? The dear little cookie fairy had been to visit me. So there's a whole section in the book on all these good fairy people. But this one, ooh, this one is called The Scary Fairy of Halloween. And it wasn't a fairy that came today, but a witch. She looked mean and awful, and oh, she peered in the window, and I scared me to death. I could feel my feet turning cold. Oh, she was scary, and I was scared. I reckon I let out a yell. But instead of tricks, she had brought us a treat, so she couldn't have flown in from hell. She's the scary fairy of Halloween, and her tale I'm happy to tell. I hope that next year she will fly in again and ring our old story doorbell. Lynn, right there, is the scary fairy of Halloween, and there's a picture of her in the book. And I tell you, my husband and I were really scared. I mean, she looks in that window with that mask on, and you can't believe it. And I didn't even realize until yesterday. John said, "Well, yeah, I was sitting at the table with you. I was just scared as you were." All right, now this one is for Aaliyah. And Aaliyah is right back behind Lynn and one over. And so this one is for Aaliyah, and it is called, well, you can see it up there. I can't see it, but I trust it's up there. Because Kenny, I really trust Kenny. Didn't he do a fine job on this? I really appreciate it. Yeah, wonderful job. What would I do without friends, I tell you. All right, it says, I don't know how to spell that right, but that's the way we say it. And sort of like a tune, you know, it's all in how you play it. The bologna fairy came today. She flew right in our door. She brought us pounds of, you know what? She bought it at the store. Oh yes, she came to help us out. She'd flown across hills and ditches. So my good man for lunch could have his favorite sandwiches. And that's a deal. Raise your hand up there. Come on. There we go. And this one is called The Fiddling Fiddler of the Pines. Now my fiddling fiddler brought her mandolin instead of her fiddle today. But it's my dear Barbara right over here. And she plays a blue fiddle, and she really does play a blue fiddle. A brown mandolin. And by the way, my friend Bill also plays a very fine brown mandolin. All right. She is the fiddling fiddler who lives in the pines. She plays a blue fiddle. Her music's divine. And with all the sheer joy that her music imparts, her fingers keep touching the strings of my heart. And this one is called, is there anyone here who speaks Spanish? Well, yeah, so sort of. All right, this is called La Santa del Cañón del Caballo Salvaje. Can anybody translate that?
¿La Santa de qué?
What?
La Santa.
La Santa del Cañón del Caballo del Salvaje.
La Saint of Horse Canyon or...
Yeah, you're right on. Yep. All right, it means the Saint of Wild Horse Canyon. And this one is for Gloria. And as I told you, she's the lady who bought us groceries for nearly 2 years, and she never even let me give her a tip. And she was here earlier. She had to leave before I started. But anyway, this is a story about Gloria. Lady lives down in Wild Horse Canyon. Just one moment here while my friend Marshall makes his way in. I know you won't see him if he takes his hat off, so he left it on. All right, the lady lives down in Wild Horse Canyon. A right saintly woman is she. She ventures out in sleet, hail, or snow to bring my provisions to me. She hauls them here in her horse's pack saddle. Pony seems fine critter, of course. Reddish roan, strawberry, I reckon. But Ford Explorer, strange name for a horse. Now let me tell you why I call her. She lives at Mesa del Caballo, which means horse mesa or table of the horse. But this lady is so intrepid that I wanted to put her in a more exciting place. So I put her in Wild Horse Canyon. And I'll read you the name again. La Santa del Cañón del Caballo Salvaje. There. Wild Horse Canyon. All right, now this one you can identify with, I'm sure. Anybody that ever had a grandma can identify with this poem. The name is up there. Whenever Grandma baked a cake, or Mama, or Auntie Marie, I always got to lick the bowl. Well, me or my brother and me, I really didn't lick the bowl. I tried it once. My hair got a mess. So then I had to lick a great big spoon. Scrapers hadn't been invented, I guess. Now think about them bygone days when into the kitchen I'd stroll and Grandma would say, well, imagine that. And I could start licking the bowl. See him riding easy, coming down along the draw, and he'd wave his hat in greeting, just to let me know he saw me standing there beside my pinto, with my anxious freckled face. When we'd meet beside the windmill on old Hank Morgan's place. Then he'd swing down from the saddle and he'd take me in his arms. I could smell we'd buy a ranch together, for I would have his name. My dad was set against it. He didn't mean to be unkind, but he was an old cowboy, see, and he hoped that I would find someone who'd make a bit more money. But it wasn't to my taste, so we'd meet beside the windmill on old Hank Morgan's place. Well, we know old Hank knew of us, but he never came around. He would wink at either of us if we chanced to meet in town, but he never told a single soul. He never showed his face when we meet beside the windmill on old Hank Morgan's place. Well, it's still the sweetest memory of the days when I was young, before the lamps were lighted and all the songs were sung. Those lovely summer evenings and that fine young cowboy's face when we'd meet beside the windmill on old Hank Morgan's place. Old Hank Morgan's place. Well, I considered having Kenny put a picture of my old boyfriend that I was thinking of when I wrote that song. He was an old cowboy, a young cowboy in them days. And his name was Johnny, and my husband's name is John. And there have been 5 guys that I went with by the name of John. But number 5 is number 1, and old Buck is out there now. But the real name is John Johnson, not Charlie Black. All righty, let's see. What time are we supposed to be through here, Linda?
We don't have to get done right away when we were supposed to. So we could go another half hour even.
I don't know what she said, but I'm going to go till she stops me, okay? All right, well, anyway, Chuck said that maybe this would be a good one for me to do for you. This is called The Legacy of Levi's. My daddy swears by Levi's. He says nothing else compares to garments made by Levi Strauss. That we're all aware. Because if I'm wearing Wranglers or Lee's, he looks askance and says, you can call them jeans if you want to. They sure as heck ain't cowboy pants. So of course I'm wearing Levi's. It's in the jeans, you see. And I'll tell you the tale of Levi's just as it was told to me, how an immigrant started his fortune back in 1853. Young Strauss came to California with tough brown canvas, meant for tents, to house the myriad miners that had immigrated west to the siren call of goldfields. But the mother lode had waned by the time young Levi got there, and old prospector exclaimed, son, a lot of folks has left here. While there's tents available galore, you should have brought good breeches. Now that's the thing that's needed more. Well, Levi, listen to the miners. For the gold we hope to pack, we need tight gold dust-proof pockets and also pockets in the back. Tighter seams with reinforcement. Levi thought he'd take a chance. He cut his canvas into pieces and he started making pants. And he took his pattern from the sailor pants worn by the Genoese. They're therefore called jeans thereafter, which Levi didn't want them called. He insisted and persisted. They are waist-high overalls. He did. First he used his tough brown canvas, and then he tried out something new, making pants from firm French cotton, dyed with indigo, deep blue, serge denim, or simply denim, which soon proved that it would do. Come along then, Jacob Davis, still another immigrant. He'd put rivets on horse blankets, and he offered them for Levi's pants. Then they added belt loops and that orange thread and this leather patch here at the rear. And Levi Strauss became the foremost. The trousers worn out here in the West among the miners and the men who followed near to provide them beef and rawhide on the West's great last frontier. Now there used to be a rivet at the bottom of the fly, but that's been discontinued, and here's the reason why. The cowboy was responsible for often he would squat beside that raging campfire, and that rivet sure got hot. And that is why it's been removed from that strategic spot. My daddy's plumb convinced me this is not some passing fad. It's the legacy of Levi's, and I got it from my dad. And we got that information from the Levi Strauss Museum in San Francisco, so that's all right on. All right, and this one is called, well, as you see, the title. My heart's in the highlands a chasing the deer. My heart's in the highlands, my heart is not here. Robert Burns, 1789. Love that poem by Burns. But I think to myself, the highlands. And we who live in pine and Payson and strawberry, we live in the highlands too. And so I recently wrote this little poem. Though I'm 80 and 9 and getting on 90, and many things done and ain't seen at 90, they're ailing and failing, or simply played out. But of this I can tell you, they're simply nae doot. My heart's in the highlands, there's songs to be sung, there's eagles to glide with, bluebells to be rung. My heart's in the highlands a chasing the deer, that's helping the troubles and pains disappear. There's cold creeks to wade, there's high hills to climb, there's time to think back on other dear times. There's rivers to cross, there's stars when it's night, and magic when moon casts her fragile blue light. I'm hiking trails that wind through the woods. I'm touching the grass where the fairies have stood. Listen, the winds in the tall aspen trees, it's whispering, sighing with every wee breeze. And so I tell myself when I'm tempted to weep, my heart's in the highlands, God's never asleep. Every day I can greet a world without fear, for I know that my God will be meeting me there. Now you may wonder about the Scottish accent. Well, I'll tell you why it's there, darling. It's there because the first line says I'm 80 and 9 and gay and I'm 90. Can you think of anything else that rhymes with 90 except 90? No, I can't either, so I had to do the whole thing Scottish style. And speaking of that, I will say, you have heard of the land down under, the land of the kangaroo. Well, we who reside in Payson, we are down under too. We live down under the Muggy-on Rim. Should we be called Rimmeroos? And I see that my friend Gloria is here. I didn't see her before. Did you just come in? She sneaked in a window, I betcha.
No, I came in a little later.
All right, anyway, that's Gloria. That's the lady from Wild Horse Canyon. That's the one. All right, now, this one is called Spoonerismitis. Spoonerismitis. Now, do you all know what a spoonerism is? Well, if you know anything about the Right Reverend William Archibald Spooner, he used to kind of get his tang tumbled. Well, he did that, yes, he did. And he would say things like, the usher will sew you to a sheet. or to a flustered bridegroom, it is customary to cuss the bride now. So I will read you this poem, and then you tell me what happened. You tell me what the main problem was. And this really happened. I said to my husband, I'm going out to sleep the sweeps. What? He said, all right, so it begins. I just gone out to leap the sweeps when I thought I'll cheat the Fickens. But darn, I found they coned the flute. And I said, well, dot the Wickens. Where the heck could those girds have gone? I must go furching sore them. Cross the gins. And I lit cooking for them. I said, I guess they'll lie back from. So that my loption leaves me. I rooked my take, did a double dake, and went back to leaping sweepsies. All right, what's the main problem in that problem? What's the problem that I would have run into? The chickens. All right. Now, I was going to have one of my assistants do this, but I forgot to tell him. So I will do it myself. Linda could have done that. Chuck could have done that. Anybody could have done that. I've just gone out to leap the sweeps. What does it mean? Leap? Leap the sweeps. All right. When I thought I'd cheat the Fickens. Darn, I found they'd coned the flute. And I said, well, dot the Wickens.
What the ticket?
Yeah, where the heck could those girds have gone? I must go furching sore them. I found they thumped across the gents. Jumped across the fence. Close. And I lit cooking for them. All right. I said, I guess they'll high back from. So I guess no loption leaves me. I think I heard it, but not loud. That no loption leaves me.
No option leaves.
Loption leaves me. No option leaves me. I rooked my take.
Took my rake.
Took my rake and did a double dake. And I went back to leaping sweepsies. Sweeping leavesies, and it has to rhyme, so it has to say leavesies. All right. Oh, I like this one. Big fat frog. As I was walking near the bog, I found one day a big fat frog. Not quite as big as a piglet hog, but 6 times as big as a pollywog. The big frog jumped across the creek and amazingly began to speak. He said, "Kiss me, sweetie pie." I said, "What?" He said, "Oh my, just kiss me." Well, I picked him up, and eye to eye we both began to versify. He said, "If you kiss me, it's a cinch. I'll turn into a handsome prince." "You're really sort of gross," said I. "Perhaps, but I can personify. If you just give me one sweet kiss, I'll turn into a handsome prince." I didn't say another word. Big Frog asked me if I'd heard. I said, "Oh yeah, I heard all right. But let me tell you of my plight. A handsome prince would be all right. Talking frog." And there are several people here who have given us jigsaw puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles. All right, so this one, well, the title is up there. Now, here's the thing that puzzles me and makes me wonder, too. What is the thing that our dear friends are expecting us to do? At least we thought they were our friends. You'd think they would respect us, but they bring us broken pictures. And would you believe it together? This could take a month or 4. And when we get the picture fixed, they bring us even more. And when the darn thing's put together, though it seems unorthodox, they say, "Now break it up again and put it in the box." With all the pieces dumped back in, 100 pieces means one friend. It certainly must realize we got some really jumbled friends. And when this puzzle's finished, we do have to confess, they've helped us pull together through this crazy COVID mess. Thank you. Thank you for all. And this one is called, and I have several people who really like this poem because they remember this. Now, you have to be as old as Marshall Trimble to remember this. I mean, that's a long time. It's called, it's up there. Oh, what a treat when we go out to eat, all those ever so rare. To be off the hook and not have to cook, oh, I'd eat out at most anywhere. To be waited on till the food was all gone was living in sure luxury without jumping up to refill a cup or put ketchup or mustard or pie on. Sure to be seen was that wee spig of green that added such charm to the plate. You saved it till last. That small touch of class whose attributes I do appreciate. It cleansed the palate, it freshened the breath. A most helpful garnish indeed, and oh, by the way, supplied vitamin K, more beneficial to those prone to nosebleed. The wee bit of green is no more to be seen. Food portions may seem somewhat sparsely. The food may be good, let us hope that it would, but whatever became of parsley. You can remember that. And I still maintain there should be something on green on every plate, which my husband does not agree with it, but it's still gets a piece of parsley on there. All right, now this one is very important. This is very important. So listen carefully. It's called Someone, surely everyone knows by now the importance of saying rabbit. Oh, I have to dedicate this to my friend Bill Burkett, because he's the one who reminds me every month that the first word out of my mouth has to be rabbit. Thank you, Bill. And I told him about this, so that makes me feel really good. Surely everyone knows by now the importance of saying rabbit in order to bring a month of good luck. It's sure to become a habit. It must be the first word out of your mouth on the first day of every year. It's traveled all around the world, though in Britain it was begunt. In fact, in many places I'm told the populace is so smitten they have to say it twice, even thrice. The rabbit bug has bitten. And who could find a more appropriate time than the lovely spring month of April to yell at your spouse first thing out of your mouth, rabbit, rabbit, rabbit! And I do. All right, it's about time now, I think. Is it about time now?
It's a 3:15, but I think they might be starting to pick their things up, but you could go till 3:30 if you want.
Oh, okay, all right, well, sure. All right, well then,
And you're going to turn back the page.
what?
Turn back the page because that's your wife.
Yes.
What?
He put you're supposed to, I put it
All right.
on the screen.
All right.
I said, turn
Well,
it back.
I will do you a poem that was inspired by my friend Barbara Baker up in Sholo. She came down to see me about 21 years ago, and she said, Donnie, I have a good story for you, and I want you to make a poem out of it. So I did. And now she says it's true, and if you know Barbara Baker, you know it's true, because she knew Fred Martin, who's this protagonist of this story. Swap me a biscuit. I used to do some guiding up on the lower blue. Fred Martin was the finest cook I think I ever knew. His frijoles and his hash was great. His Dutch oven pies real fine. He used to crimp them with his old false teeth because it made the best design. And when hunting parties started out, it was Fred we'd want for Chuck. When we figured we was getting, we would say, well, we're in luck. Because what he made the very best, either wood stove or Dutch oven, was biscuits. Watch that crew come up just a pushing and a shoving to get to old Fred's biscuits, which we could eat right smart. Excuse me. We'd rustle up some kindling wood to give Fred a good head start. One time we was camped up at the HU bar. We packed in 7 miles, that little old log cabin. Fred had done swept out the piles of trash and stuffed the rats had left. The place was smelling great. There was big, thick steaks and chili beans. Boy, we could hardly wait, but Freddie said we'd have to stall for just a few more minutes. This oven just ain't heating right, and he kept peeping in it. These biscuits ain't hardly browned. He kept saying that about them, but we was starving, had to start eating because we'd have to start eating without them. And when at last he put them on that rough old pine plank table, he thought we'd wolf them down real fast, but none of us was able. Them things was hard as darnix. We laughed, and Chuck said, "Shucks, we could put them in our slingshots and kill ourselves some bugs." Well, Fred, he was embarrassed. He put the pan down on the floor, and Slim took down the fiddle that he'd hung up by the door. There was a bottle of Jack Daniels, so we was drinking and a-smoking, listening to the music, just a-talking and a-joking, when Tuffy put his finger up. "Motion us for quiet." He pointed us to look that way. Oh, brother, what a riot. There was utter, total silence. Nobody said a word. Says there was a great big pack rat a-toting a dried horse turd. He didn't seem to see us. All he was looking at was that pan of Fred's cold biscuits. What a treat for one pack rat. And then we busted out laughing, and I reckon that rat heard. So he up and grabbed a biscuit, and he left his dried horse turd. Poor Fred, he really got her. We could not contain our mirth. Red said, "Fred, there goes one biscuit," and you can see what it was worth. But I tell you, that ain't nothing. Back the rat come to the shack, and he up and grabbed his horse turd, and he put Fred's biscuit back. Let's do old girl power, and then we'll put her up.
We did that early on. You do, that's fine. Do that one and then tostada.
Yeah, and the tostada.
Okay.
Let me see, what is this tostada? I don't tostada. I thought we were something the same way. I think I know. All right, let's see, old girl power. Yeah. Didn't we do that one?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that one. We did that one. Let's do my tostada then. Let's see where is that? Okay. All right, now, we're going to close the show with this one, and usually I do something kind of cheerful to end with, but this one is so dear to my heart that I wanted to join me in it anyway. And you can join, well, some of the audience knows this song, so you can join the chorus, and they'll show you what to do, particularly this row right up here. All right, so we'll do the chorus. Let's see, what the heck key is that?
Okay.
That's what I brought them for. All right, now this is the chorus. Get your foot off my tostada. Give me back my enchilada. Don't you eye my empanada. Ain't your huckleberry anymore. You got that part? Okay, that's your part. You slept upon my couch last night. Today I get an awful fright. It is such a dreadful sight. 14 sus amigos on my floor. What does 14 mean? 14. So what does 14 sus amigos mean?
14 of my friends.
14 of your friends, all right. So that you slept upon my couch last night. Oh my, it is a dreadful sight. Today I get an awful fright. 14 sus amigos on my floor. I tell you, bingo, bongo, bango, you can't have my chimichango. Now you're eating my last mango. Get your friends and tango out my door. Get your foot off my tostada. Give me back my enchilada. Don't you eye my empanada. Ain't your huckleberry anymore. Go and find your friend Maria. Maybe she'll be glad to see ya. Wrap you in a warm tortilla. stop looking so morose. I found your boot in my basole. Your mustache is full